This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
Hey everyone, this is Jamie Diaz with Barks to Basics, and today we are going to dive in on how to become a dog trainer and how to have a dog training career. I know I've had people on before that have touched base on this, but I really want to give people that are interested a realistic, good glimpse of what is needed to do so. Also, before I start, if you have not yet, pick up pre-sale right now, Dog Training Made Simple, my new book coming out. It's literally for anybody who has a dog, whether it's your first dog, fifth dog, you already have dogs. There's just things in there that you may have forgotten and tips and tricks. Everything from crate training to problem behaviors with multiple dogs, children and kids. So definitely get a pre-sale now. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere that they sell books, you can find Dog Training Made Simple. So now that I gave my plug, because I forgot last time, let's start with how I started. So how I started was I was actually watching a show on TV, and they mentioned that from watching the show, one of the clients on the show decided to go to dog training school. And I always was interested in dogs. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that there was actually schools for dogs. So, I mean, school for you to train dogs. So there are many of them, which I am going to dive into. At the time, Animal Behavior College, which is still here today. To be honest, I don't know if that was maybe one of the main ones back then that they had. So I dove into that. I think I literally signed up that week. And I knew for myself that I wanted to start my own business. I know I told my friends and family, I was bartending at the time. I have my bachelor's in teaching, and they just were not making enough money. So I was like, oh, let me switch from kids to dogs. I remember telling my family and friends, I'm going to school to become a dog trainer. They all nodded their head and said, oh, great, and thought I was nuts. Fast forward to today, I have 4 training schools, dog training schools. You can bring your dogs. It's actually a school for dogs. And I've really evolved into this being a full-blown career with, 25 to 30 employees, continuing to expand. So I know there's a lot of people interested in doing this, and I really want to kind of dive in and see if I can maybe answer some questions you may have about how to go about this. So you're interested in dogs. I would say your number one thing that you have to do is sign up for a dog training school. Now, the commitments are not crazy, so it can be, and most of them you can finance. So it could be anywhere from, let's say, $2,500, maybe, if you can still get it for that, to $8,000-9,000, right? So realistically, one of my favorite schools is about $3,500, $4,000 for the program to have the certification through there. Now, you do not have to be certified to be a dog trainer. I've said this before. You can wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to be a dog trainer, and start giving the public advice that you think that you've learned on your own. I think it's really important to have a base of school, and we'll go into kind of, if you don't go that route, how you can successfully do that too. If you don't have the money to do it, or you're just not sure, but I think your very first step should be signing up, committing to a school, and it's way cheaper than regular college. So if you really think this is something you want to do, get yourself signed up for a school. So which school? First of all, you want to look for a school that is using positive reinforcement only. So this is science-based methods. There's tons of research on this, that dogs learn faster and quicker, and it's just better for the dog all around this way. So that means whatever school you go to is not going to recommend any chokers, prongs, or shock collars for your clients. Excuse me. So some of the top schools. Now, when I went, like I said, I went to Animal Behavior College, which is still around, which ranks number 4 on my list. They're still good. I would say The problem with most of these schools, and I am a mentor for many of them, I'm a mentor for Catch, I'm a mentor for Animal Behavior College and Victoria Stilwell Academy, is that there's not enough person-to-person kind of thing. So I know at the time, Animal Behavior College recommended 15 hours. 15 hours. I mean, my staff does that in 2 days, right? That's like not enough time. It's just like a sprinkle. So I will say when I graduated, it was just a stepping stone into like the bigger picture. So I had enough knowledge base, but I didn't have any of the hands-on experience besides, and I'll kind of tell you what I did from there. But sorry, I have something stuck in my throat. But you at least want to start there. So some of the top schools for me, and I'm not just saying this, I am a Victoria Stilwell trainer, and, I love the program. Victoria Stilwell Academy is one of the top schools that I would recommend. I would also say, hopefully soon we're going to have Victoria on to kind of talk about her school. But I will say that all around, it's very comprehensive. You have an online mentor through each part of the program. So a lot of these programs is do it on your own. You do it, you take the test, you go, you do some mentoring. So like for Catch, I have to evaluate people training, but that's like after the fact, right? I do the evaluation. So they've watched some classes, but the last couple of evaluations I did, there was so much information I needed to give them, and I did, because it's hard for me not to keep my mouth shut when I see certain things that could be done better. But they definitely need more of that in-person thing. Now, Victoria Stilwell Academy, they have a mentor through you the whole way, and they also do offer in Atlanta a like week or two kind of camp that you can go there, and they do all these lessons live. So that's a nice part that you can do. I think Catch has that too, but from what I've seen from all the programs, Victoria Stilwell's is the best for dog training school. So when any of my employees come to me, I try and urge them, even if it's a little bit more expensive than the other ones, this is your best route. I have many of my trainers that have graduated from there, and they're amazing trainers. The second one I would say after Victoria would be Karen Pryor Academy. So this does focus on clicker training. They've been around a very, very long time. I'm sure they were around when I went to ABC, but I didn't do enough research. They offer a range of courses for trainers and pet owners, so if you're interested. And by the way, all of these schools, well, I know Victoria's, Karen's, they have amazing online courses. So if you're not sure if you want to sign up for school and you just want to kind of dabble a little bit and see if you're interested in it, sign up for an online course. They're super inexpensive, and you can kind of see what route you want to go. So Karen Pryor Academy, again, been around forever, great trainers behind them that work for them. Ken Ramirez that I love, so many others. So they're a really, really great academy. So I would say next that falls in line is Catch. So Catch Canine Trainers Academy, I believe they're based out of New Jersey, but again, these are all online. They are decent. They're okay. Again, when I see the student doing, I'm just evaluating them as a professional. I'm not there to guide them like every step of the way. They come and observe, but I think it could be much, much better, that mentorship program. Same with Animal Behavior College. It was just like a stepping stone for me. It was not enough hours for me to, I learned a couple things, but again, 15 hours is nothing, right? And the first set of classes, you're kind of observing. It's not like you're doing hands-on stuff. So I would say, again, they need help with that. So this is on here, the Association of Pet Professional Dog Trainers, the APDT. So the APDT is an amazing organization that has courses. They do every year a seminar, days of all different courses that you can pick. They are not a school, but you can definitely find things that you may be interested in from there. So it's the APDT, again, the Association of Professional Dog Trainers. So remember that name. One of the first conferences I ever went to after I got my certification was there in Atlanta, and I will say it was amazing. And for those dog trainers out there that are stagnant and kind of bored with what they're doing, go to a conference. Go to something to kind of read. We're learning so much about canine behavior that it changes all of the time. And if you don't keep up on it, you're going to be left in the dust. So really, any of these things will kind of spark you into being really motivated again. So Animal Behavior College, associated of professional dog trainer, the Dog Trainers Academy, Dog Trainers Elite. I'm not familiar with them. The other one, Academy for Dog Trainers, which is Gene Donaldson's, and the example, what they say about it is known for its rigorous curriculum. And the Academy teaches science-based methods, so relying heavily on positive reinforcement. My friend Cheryl had graduated from here. Her tests and they really come from a behavior standpoint and really get you prepared in the terminology and some of her tests. I was like, holy crap! I don't know if I would have passed them. It's really into, I don't want to say the books knowledge, but she had to watch a lot of videos. It's very rigorous, and Cheryl had great things to say about there. So I would say the top ones you're going to look at is the Victoria Stilwell Academy, Karen Pryor. I would say if you're a good scholar, Academy for Dog Trainers, Gene Donaldson, and then there's Catch and Animal Behavior College. So those are the schools that you would look into if you're really interested about making this a career. So let's talk about 10 things that you really need to know about if you want this career. One, it can be done. Kristen, that I've had on before here, is my head trainer in our Deerfield Beach location. She literally started at the bottom. She was able to now, buy a home with her family. She's had a baby. She's been through it all, and she's going to continue to thrive and kind of grow in the company. She's really made a true career for herself because she wanted it and she worked for it. So, and that's working for somebody else, right? So you have both kind of aspects. You can start your own, or you can also make a career doing it, working for somebody else. So let's go through some of the things. One of them is, first of all, if you're not a people person, I would say this is not the field for you. So you can be a handler, or you can be maybe at a doggy daycare would be something good. But as far as a career, fortunately or unfortunately, you are talking to clients and pet parents, and they're the ones that pay the bill. So you have to make a connection with these parents, right? And if they don't like you, or, perception is their reality, whatever it is, if you're not coming across in a way that they like, they're not going to want you to train their dog. So you just want to make sure that you love the animals, but you're also a people person. So understanding canine behavior. Familiarize yourself with dog behavior and communication. Recognizing body language is crucial. So I would say this comes from a lot of experience. So a lot of my trainers will say, you do it. I want to just watch. You really have to be immersed with dogs and see their body language. I had a natural I always, was raised with dogs, and always would train my friends' dogs and do things with dogs. And I could just tell body language. So a couple of my family dogs growing up, they would get into arguments, and I would know right before it was going to happen because I can see that body language. And sometimes a lot of people don't see those subtle signs. So you really, there's so many dog body language books, webinars, all of these things that you can use to learn about body language. So that's super important. Training techniques. So you want to be kind of versed in clicker training, so you know what it is. You want to know the 4 quadrants, right? You want to know what that is: positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative reinforcement, negative punishment. And you want to just understand, you don't have to be a scientist, understand how classical and operant conditioning works when it comes to dog training, because you're going to be using those interchangeably, and you want to make sure that you have an understanding, and you want to make sure it's positive reinforcement. We have come so far from what we used to be, and we know so much more. Positive reinforcement is the way to go. That means you're using reinforcements, treats, toys to get the dog, to reinforce the dogs for what you want them to do. So that is the best way. So you want to make sure that you're staying in line with that. Knowledge of dog breeds. So when I started, I had a book, and it was helpful. I guess after experience or being lazy or whatever it is, I don't do this anymore. But I had a book, and every client that I had, I'd print out the breed and look at their temperament, what kind of family dog they are. Do they like kids? Do they not? Like everything. Are they herders? Are they, hunters? What they are they retrievers? Because that helps in your behavior plan, right? So if you have a border collie that's chasing the kids, you kind of know, well, that's in their breed. So you can kind of make a plan for that. And you know that is a natural thing that's happening. So you do want to know knowledge of the breeds. Now, I guess because I've worked with so many times, there's only certain ones I have to look up and be like, what the heck is that? I never see that, especially in Florida because it's hot here. So there's a lot of breeds sometimes we don't see. But it is important in the beginning, if you're starting or even before you start, get to know dog breeds, get to know what they are, what they like, what kind of home they thrive in. Basic obedience commands. This will come once you start school or even when you don't start school. You can find this even on my social media at Dynamite Dog Training, at Lucky Dog Training Club. How to do every skill of basic commands. That's the easy part, right? That's the easy part of training. So I think that's what the schools do for you too in the beginning. They teach you those skills that you need. Sit, watch me, touch, like come. How do you teach all of these things? That's the easiest part of training is the obedience cues, I think. Even more advanced cues. Once you know how behavior works, getting a dog to open the refrigerator, bring you a toy, shut the refrigerator is pretty easy once you learn how to chain those behaviors and teach those. So really get the basics down, and you can do this even before you start school. Handling behavior problems. So this is the thing too. You want to make sure that you are educated if you do want to start a dog training business or get into it and you don't go to school. There's a lot of people that get into the field that either, like I said, aren't ready to make the commitment for school, whether it's money, time, whatever it is, but they're working in the dog training field. So my trainers do not have to have their certifications when they start. They start off as handlers. They learn everything there. And then from there, we advance them to junior trainers. And then eventually they will get their CPDT, which is another thing you definitely want to get after you go to school. The Certification Council of Professional Dog Trainers. It's the only regulated test in the country that you have the letter CPDT/KA after your name. They'll get that afterward. So even if you don't go to school, there are different avenues to get there. But a lot of my trainers, they'll be with me for a while. They'll want to know more. And they'll say, you know what, I want to go to school now. So even after they've been training. So there are different avenues to go. Just make sure that, so going back to problem behaviors, because I went on a tangent there. With the problem behaviors, if you don't go to school, even if you do go to school, there are going to be things that you're not really versed in, right? Separation anxiety, different things. I used to take for reactivity because I saw it somewhere, right? I saw it on YouTube or somewhere that if you take two reactive dogs and you just walk them together from the walk, they'll stop barking at each other and then they'll just be walking. And it worked. For a lot of dogs. I think there was only one dog it didn't work for. And I was like, this is amazing. Look, you just like walk them. Now I realize I was flooding the dogs. They probably were shut down. So even though I've always been force free, it's little things like that. And then I'm giving this advice to clients to take your two reactive dogs and walk them side by side. And it's just not safe. So even if you do start in the business for problem behaviors, make sure you know what and it's okay to say. I say all the time when I get referred from the behaviorists or veterinarians, I don't like separation anxiety. I hate noise phobias as well. I will work on them, like thunder, for instance, is so hard. You need medications on board. You need so many things. Same with separation anxiety and nothing. I'm glad that the medications are on board, but just know what you can handle and what you cannot. And it's okay to say, this is something that I don't want to do. There's a lot of my trainers that do not want to do aggression. There's a lot of my trainers that do not want to work with reactivity. There's a lot of my trainers that just want to do puppies. That's okay. find where you want to be, even after you go to school. Find what you thrive in, find what you like to do, and stick with that. You can say, I just do puppies and basic obedience, and I don't want to do any of those behavior problems. And that is okay. And everyone will respect you for that too, because you're not giving advice that you don't know. So this comes back to what I was saying about liking people. So client communication skills. You need to be able to talk to, as a trainer, be able to talk to owners and explain to them. So I will say, and I can always get better, I've really mastered kind of being where the people are. Meaning, I used to give these beautiful behavior plans. Or when I was going to an in-home private, when I first started, I would have it written down. Okay, we're going to work on this, this, and this. And I'd get to the house and they said, we don't care about anything. We don't care if he knows anything. I just want him to stop biting and peeing in the house. So then I'd have to learn to kind of change that whole plan, and I'd have to learn to communicate to the owners and not say, no, this is what we're doing today. It's the owner's time, it's the owner's money, and it's the owner's goals. So you need to, even though you can have the best treatment behavior plan for the dog, you have to be able to communicate to the client, is this something you're really going to be able to do? Oh, no, I'm not going to be practicing that. Well, if they're not going to be practicing what you put in the plan, your plan is going to fail. And you're going to look like you failed as a trainer. So when you are able to communicate with clients and really read the clients, really read what they're going to do. There's a lot of lazy dog owners out there, including myself. My dog goes to school every day. I don't want to train my dog when I get home. I will stick with, what you've taught them and what they've taught them at school and make sure that the rules are followed and structures followed at the house. But there's a lot of people, they just want to enjoy their dog. They don't want to do 5-minute sessions every day. And you may say, all right, well, don't get a dog then. But the reality is people do. They love their dogs and they just want them to be trained. So you just want to be aligned with the people and the clients that you're training, and you have to match their personalities, their goals, and be there. If you're able to communicate with the client in that way, you're going to be successful and they're going to appreciate that. But you really have to have good client communication skills. Continuous learning. So this is a big one. And it ties in with the next one, which is certifications and education. So again, like I said, you do not have to be certified. You can wake up tomorrow and open up your own dog training business. Yay! I'm already starting generating money and I'm doing this. Well, again, you could be giving bad advice and eventually it is going to catch up to you. So having those certifications, you are required to have continued education credits. So I have my CPDT, which requires 36 credits every 3 years, 12 credits a year. And then I have my CNWI, which I'm a certified canine nosework instructor. That requires 12 a year. So I'm constantly having to do these things. Sometimes I go away to do them. Sometimes I can't. When I just had kids, I had to do a lot of this stuff online. Now I'm able to have more freedom. They're a little bit older. I'm able to travel again. That is the exciting part of training, is keeping up the education and keeping doing these things. So at home, if you don't want to be a dog trainer and you just want to hire a trainer, make sure you're asking them what certifications they have and what is their last course that they took. I can tell you my last course that I took. I can tell you my last certification that I took. You want to make sure that your trainer and yourself as a trainer is keeping up with what's happening in the canine world. And education and continuous learning are super important. It's constantly evolving. They're constantly finding new things out. They're doing a lot of canine cognition studies and research and finding out so much more and really diving in. So the more you know too, it's just easier to train your dog. I've gone some of these conferences and I've been like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this wrong in the last 15 years. It's not necessarily wrong, but they found better ways to kind of teach things, better ways to tweak things. So you want to make sure that you are continuing your education. And one of the ways to force you to do that is to make sure you have these certifications. Other thing is business skills. So this comes to personally what you want to do. So when I started, again, I said, I wanted my own business. I had my business cards before I even like graduated school. I knew I had the mentor trainers talking to me about working for them and all of these things. I knew for me, I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to be my own boss. Now, that being said, I worked my butt off, right? I was still bartending. So it took after I graduated, about 3 years of bartending and taking clients. So I, at first, just did all my friends' dogs for free. I forget who it was. Somebody asked me, how are you going to get this experience? I didn't want to charge. I didn't feel comfortable charging, not just because they were my friends, just people with no experience, right? So I really wanted to get that experience. So I did a lot. I said, you have a dog? Can I come over and train them? Can I come over and try this? So I did a lot of free training for my friends and family. Once I got to the point that I was like, all right, I can do some basic stuff. Then I started charging whatever it was, and I did private clients only. So it took me about 3 years of doing private clients with bartending and training. I remember I'd bartend till 4 a.m, get home at 5, and I'd have a 9:30 appointment. Why would I schedule a 9:30 appointment? Because that's what the client's only time they could do on a Saturday. So I worked my butt off to build the business enough so that I can quit bartending. Then I got to the point that I was doing 7 days a week, 6 clients a day. And I said, this is crazy. And that's when I decided I hired my first employee. And it kind of expanded to there. I needed a home base. I wanted a center. And it kind of snowballed from that. That's not everybody. Most people that go into this business, they will just do private clients. They will make a lot of money. In this area, they charge anywhere between $75 to $150 an hour, say. And technically that's all yours besides the taxes. You have your gas, you have all the other stuff, but that's a good living. Now, that being said, when you're driving, you have to remember this too. Okay, I'm only going to do this and train private clients. I think I was spending anywhere from $700 to $1,000 a month in gas, because I was driving all over the place. And then you can also say, oh, I'm only going to in this area. I'm only going to go to Boca on Tuesdays. But then you have somebody in Miami that's going to be paying you $100 an hour, and it's the only day they can do. And you can't switch everything around. So you wind up driving there. So these are just little things business-wise you want to think of if you're just doing it on your own. So you're doing it on your own. You do everything right. You're going to probably be doing private. You're going to be doing a lot of driving unless you rent a space, which is also a good idea, renting a small space. But then you have the overhead and you have to have enough business to cover that. So I started just doing the private clients. And that's something a lot of people do. A lot of people work for an airline part-time, and then they do the dog training on the other side. Some people, they don't really have to work, so they do it part-time. There's a lot of options. It depends where you are in your life, but you definitely can make a living on your own just doing private sessions. Now, say, I don't want to own my own business. There are so many people that I talk to. I'm like, go on your own. Why don't you go on your own? With everything, working at a hair salon, from, dog training, from, being a mechanic. Why don't you everybody can open up their own things, but it's not for everybody. So you want to make sure that that is something that you want to do. Some people want to clock in and clock out and be done for the day. I will say I'm never done for the day. I'm answering calls, texts, 10 o'clock at night. We used to joke. My family used to joke, you're not a doctor. You're not a surgeon, because I'd be getting these calls late at night, but these are people that are desperate. They need help with their dog. So you're never off. When I'm away, I'm still answering the phones. I'm still checking emails. You never really shut down when it's your own business. And that is just, any business owners know, it's just reality. And I'm the type of person, I'm just used to that. I'm used to being on the go. I'm used to doing that. Now, if you want to work for somebody else, great idea too. You're probably going to start off lower waged in the beginning, because people want people with experience. I can't tell you, when I open an ad for my centers, how many people are truck drivers, are work at Home Depot, are doing all these not dog related jobs and want to come into the field, which is great. But you have to know you're going to start lower at the bottom. And then you're going to move your way up. At least in my company, I move people up very quickly, especially if they're passionate and they pick up things. So if anybody needs a job, you can contact us, Dynamite Dog Training, Lucky Dog Training Club. But if you're just looking to work in the dog field, just take whatever. Take whatever to start. Yes, it's not going to be, are you going to be making $12 an hour? Maybe. You might be making no money. See if you can do part-time and see if you like it. Once you like it and your boss sees that you like it, you're going to start moving up and you can see what you really like. You might be like, you know what, training's not for me, but I would love to be a vet tech, or I would love to do something in the veterinarian field. So it's a great way for you to get your feet wet without a huge commitment to seeing if you even like it, is what I would suggest for that. But there are many, many avenues that you can go. Sometimes it's just a stepping stone for people, which is fine too. Trainers in this area, if you're working for somebody else, make anywhere from 18 to, let's see, if you're doing in-homes too, anywhere from $18 to $125 an hour working for somebody else. So that's kind of what my pay scale ranges from 18 to 125 an hour, depending what you're doing, all of that. So still a really, really good living working for somebody else. And when you clock out, you're done. You don't have to work weekends. You don't have to work holidays. You don't have to do any of that extra stuff. So hopefully I was able to give anybody who's interested in the field a little more insight of where you should start, where you should go. I am always available to answer any questions, also for mentorships, also for employment, to see if, like I was saying, you like this job, you like what you're doing. I will say there are a lot of trainers that get into this and they think they know everything because they've trained a lot of dogs singly, but when you get into somewhere like one of my training schools, you realize, oh my gosh, there's so much more to learn. So I would say just be open-minded wherever you go, and you definitely can make this a career for you. If you want to see more of what we do, you can check out our social media, which is at Dynamite Dog Training, at Lucky Dog Training Club, and on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of the things that I miss. Oh, YouTube. So you can also watch these podcasts on YouTube as well. And also check out the book, Dog Training Made Simple. You can pre-order now anywhere where books are sold. So please buy that pre-order. Also, you can listen to us anywhere where podcasts are. You can listen to podcasts, Audible, Spotify, everywhere. Tell your friends. It's a free way to get good information. And if anybody's interested, make sure that they listen to this podcast. But this is Barks to Basics with Jamie Diaz, and hopefully I was able to steer some of you guys in the right direction. We'll see you next time.